Did you know that the simple act of chewing gum owes a surprising debt to the search for, well, a better kind of rubber?
It's a fascinating connection, isn't it?
It really is. And those sorts of, unexpected links in the chain of discovery, that's exactly what we're diving into today.
Precisely.
Yeah.
We're going to be exploring the life and the work of Sir William Augustus Tilden. We'll be using excerpts from his biography as our guide, really.
Okay.
And our mission, if you like, is to understand what really drove his scientific pursuits. We want to look at the maybe hidden value of experiments that don't quite go to plan.
Right, the failures.
Exactly, the so-called failures. And just appreciate the long-lasting influence that comes from, well, persistent inquiry.
Absolutely. And for you listening in, this deep dive really offers a unique perspective on perseverance, doesn't it? And the sometimes winding path of scientific progress and how, really significant breakthroughs can pop up from the most unexpected places. I think it's a story with valuable lessons for anyone interested in learning and innovation. Okay, so let's unpack this. William Augustus Tilden. He enters the world in 1842, right in the middle of Victorian London. What was that like, that environment? How might it have shaped him?
Well, Victorian London.
Yeah.
It was dynamic, certainly, but also full of contradictions, wasn't it? You had this huge industrial progress side by side with really ingrained social hierarchies.
Yeah.
And a growing fascination with science, but also very traditional views still holding strong.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting about Tilden specifically is that his early life wasn't very stable.
Oh.
No, the family moved frequently. His education was a bit fragmented. You might think that's a disadvantage.
You would, yeah.
But it seems maybe it fostered a certain adaptability in him, resourcefulness perhaps.
That's interesting you say that, because the biography really highlights how his apprenticeship to a pharmacist, that became a real anchor for him, a source of comfort and inspiration. It's almost as if the instability kind of pushed him towards this practical, hands-on world of chemistry.
Exactly. And if we connect that back to our mission, understanding the driving forces, you can see how those early challenges, maybe they didn't derail him, maybe they actually ignited his passion for this specific field. The structure of the pharmacy, seeing chemistry applied, that gave him stability and sparked that deep interest.
Right. So moving forward a bit, he gets his BSc and then his DSc from the University of London, which is, quite something.
No small feat, no.
And then he takes a teaching job at Clifton College, and that's where he starts looking into the chemistry of terpenes. Now, for our listeners, terpenes are basically these organic compounds in plants. Lots of plants.
Yes, a very diverse class of compounds. And they become really key to his story.
Okay.
His initial research on them at Clifton, it was foundational work. And what's fascinating here, thinking about how science progresses, it's often incremental, isn't it?
Yeah.
He wasn't immediately thinking synthetic rubber. He was deep in the fundamentals, understanding these natural compounds. It makes you wonder, how often do big breakthroughs come from seemingly unrelated basic research?
That's a great question. And that foundational knowledge, it turned out to be absolutely crucial later when he got appointed as the first professor of chemistry at Mason College in Birmingham.
Major step.
And this wasn't just a personal win. It was pretty pivotal for science education in Britain. It eventually led to the University of Birmingham.
Exactly. He wasn't just doing his own experiments. He was building the very infrastructure for future science, wasn't he?
Yeah, building the foundations.
Precisely. His role there, setting up the chemistry department, helping found the university, it just underscores his commitment, not just to his own work, but to, nurturing the next generation.
That's a key insight, isn't it? That progress isn't just about lone geniuses. It's about building these strong educational and research environments, too.
Couldn't agree more. It relies heavily on that ecosystem.
Okay, so now we get to what many people see as his biggest thing, the hunt for synthetic rubber. He actually synthesizes isoprene.
Yes.
The basic building block of rubber from turpentine. That sounds massive, like breakthrough.
And it was a significant theoretical achievement, no doubt. Being able to make isoprene in the lab, that was a critical step towards synthetic rubber.
I sense a but coming.
Well, yeah. Here's where it gets really interesting, and you see the complexities. Despite this success, there was a lot of skepticism, even disappointment, really.
Why? He'd done it.
Because his method didn't immediately lead to a product you could sell. It wasn't commercially viable right off the bat.
Wow, can you imagine the frustration? You make this fundamental leap, you see the potential, but you can't scale it up or make it cheap enough for industry. It must have felt like hitting a wall. I mean, think about that, listener, a time you achieved something important, but then just couldn't get it out there practically.
It must have been incredibly frustrating. Remember, the industrial world back then was desperate for an alternative to natural rubber.
Right.
Tilden gave them a vital piece of the puzzle, yes, but not the instant fix they wanted. It just perfectly shows that gap, that often huge gap, between a basic discovery and a commercial product.
And this is where the story gets, well, really compelling, I think. It highlights that long-term impact we talked about in our mission.
Exactly.
Because even though his specific process wasn't adopted straight away, his theoretical work, it turned out to be foundational.
Absolutely foundational.
It laid the essential groundwork for developing a successful synthetic rubber industry later on, which, as the biography points out, became incredibly important, especially, during wars when natural rubber was scarce.
Precisely. And connecting back to the role of failure, Tilden's initial, quote-unquote, lack of commercial success doesn't diminish the massive importance of his theoretical contributions.
Not at all.
He got criticism for not delivering an instant solution, sure, but his discoveries were absolutely essential stepping stones for the people who came later and did crack the commercial side.
It really makes you question how we measure scientific value, doesn't it?
It does. Is it just about immediate usefulness?
Yeah.
Or do we also recognize the long game? The impact of laying that groundwork.
Such a crucial point. It challenges our often very short-term view of progress. Now, beyond the rubber work, which was huge, Tilden also held, numerous prestigious roles, right?
Oh, absolutely. President of the Institute of Chemistry, President of the Chemical Society, Fellow, and even Vice President of the Royal Society.
Yeah.
His influence was clearly much broader than just one research area.
Yeah, it shows his deep commitment to chemistry as a whole discipline, not just his own bench work.
Exactly. He wasn't just some isolated researcher. He was actively shaping the scientific community of his time. It highlights, again, the importance of collaboration, of leadership within science.
And he was also a big advocate for science education.
Right.
Wrote influential textbooks, shaping future scientists.
It's like he understood that lasting progress wasn't only about his own discoveries, it was also about cultivating that culture of inquiry in others.
Passing the torch, sort of?
You could say that, yes.
Yeah.
His mentorship, his writing, they were vital for spreading knowledge and inspiring that next generation. It's a pattern you see again and again in science history, isn't it? The role of educators, mentors.
Definitely. And his contributions, they didn't go unnoticed, did they? He was knighted in 1909.
That's right, Sir William Tilden. A clear recognition of his lifetime's work.
And even after retiring, his passion just didn't stop. He kept writing, kept teaching. That curiosity seems to have been truly lifelong.
It really speaks volumes, doesn't it? His continued involvement well into retirement. It points to this intrinsic motivation, this deep love for the process of discovery itself.
Yeah.
It clearly wasn't just a job for him. It was fundamental to who he was.
So as we kind of wrap up our thoughts on Tilden's life, what are the main takeaways for our listeners, do you think? It strikes me as such a powerful story about perseverance, especially when you hit those setbacks or when the practical success isn't immediate.
That's absolutely a core lesson. His journey wasn't some smooth, easy path to triumph. He faced skepticism. His experiments didn't always work out right away.
Yeah.
Yet he kept going.
Yeah.
And maybe for you, listening, think about any limitations you've perhaps accepted.
Yeah.
Or aspirations you've shelved because the path just looked too hard. Tilden's life is a reminder that real progress often demands that resilience.
It's so easy to look at these scientific figures and just assume they had this effortless genius, right? But this biography, it really paints a picture of resilience, of learning from those experiments that went awry, like the excerpt said. It wasn't about instant wins, but the slow build, the cumulative impact of just sticking with it.
Exactly right. It's not an overnight success story. It's about the cumulative effect of relentless curiosity and, crucially, seeing those failures not as dead ends, but as chances to learn, to refine.
Yeah.
Which prompts a really vital question for all of us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How do we actually interpret and then respond to setbacks in whatever we're pursuing?
So as we close out this deep dive on Sir William Augustus Tilden, maybe we should take his story as, well, real inspiration.
You think so?
Embrace your own curiosity, maybe challenge some of those self-imposed limits. And just remember that progress, whether it's in a lab or just in your own life, It often means navigating uncertainty, doesn't it?
It really does.
And staying committed even when the rewards aren't immediately obvious.
Absolutely. Tilden's life is a powerful illustration that big advancements often come not from perfect execution, but from just an unyielding dedication to keep exploring, keep questioning, keep experimenting, even when things get tough, repeatedly.
Makes you think, doesn't it? Consider all those seemingly unsuccessful projects or endeavors throughout history that ultimately paved the way for huge transformations later on. What failures happening right now in our time might actually hold the seeds for future breakthroughs. It's definitely something to chew on long after this deep dive finishes.